Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are crime dramas. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Warrior Season 1, Episode 3. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So in this episode, it is the court case of John Chinaman. And obviously it's like a farce of a trial, but even though it is a farce of a trial, there is still legal proceedings that kind of go through where it's like, hey, they're trying to throw the double murder charges onto Assam, but it's like, well, no, there's not enough evidence to really say that, and you haven't even actually added the charges, so the judge is like, I'm not doing that for you. So the only thing that's going to be added on that front is going to be like, we're going to continue with the assault charges, which is like, right, we have these two witnesses who are going to testify. No one is going to testify for Assam, but even the judge is like, yeah, that kind of comes as no surprise, because no one's it. And it doesn't matter. Assam's not going to, he knows it's going to be worse. If he presents himself as someone who can speak and understand English, it's going to like make things way worse for him. So it's like, right, I might as well be silent and just take the brunt of everyone's hate. Leary is saying like, yo, because Leary doesn't know for sure that Assam is the one who killed those two guys, but it's irrelevant because if he can make Assam pay, he can like basically strike fear in everyone in Chinatown. So he's thinking like, right, it's a two birds, one stone. Maybe we kill the guy who killed them, maybe we don't, but at the very least, they'll think twice. At times, it's about sending a message. So he has Bill put some drunk people in there, which said drunk people will get their asses handed to him. I love that. It's like, oh, what are you doing? And it's like Assam's got his eyes closed, he's kind of in a meditative state, and then he holds his finger up like, shh, and then proceeds to beat them up, along with the guy that's in the next cell who's trying to hold him off. So, and I love when Bill comes back and he's just like, well, that sucks. And then like Assam's like, oh, he's like, what kind of like C word are you? He's like, well, what kind of cop are you? And he's like, you can speak English. Why aren't you saying it? And he's like, because we both know what's going to make any difference. And even Bill had admitted, yeah, that is true. But it's like, you could have like saved us all this trouble or whatever. It's like, wouldn't matter. You wouldn't listen to him. Hell, you weren't listening to Penelope, which she was trying to tell you something. So, but that's the complicated thing about Bill. He does some crappy things, but you could tell he felt bad about it. It's like, for one, he's in Leary's debt. But it's also like, even he knows, like, there's a chance this guy didn't do it. But at the very least, he needs to, it's not just, they in general, they being like, the mayor, Buckley, and Larry, they all need wins, and them getting wins works out for Bill. Bill just wants everything to kind of just like, he just wants to be able to do what he can do. He wanted to get a promotion, and yet he got put into this whole like patrolling Chinatown fully and like running this task force and stuff. So trying to make the best of it. So if like, right, I'm in Larry's pocket, so if I have to do this for him, I'll do it. It's the thing of, he's not completely a piece of shit. He's done shitty things, but you can tell he has a conscience. And I'm really interested to see what him and Assam's like relationship and their back and forth they had in this episode. It's like, I think that's going to be so interesting to see what that looks like going forward, because Bill's like, right, you fit the description or whatever. He's like, no, the only thing I'm guilty of is having a different skin color than you. That's the only reason why I'm here. You would have locked me up regardless. Yeah, like me being a Hopway gave you an excuse, but you don't really need that much of provocation to arrest me. You saw the perfect opportunity because it was like two birds, one stone. Hey, I get to do this, and I get to take down the guy who is the one that killed those guys. And it's like, I get to like, once again, I don't have the pressure of everyone breathing down my neck about this case because it being in Chinatown puts it on him. So, in particular, especially because it's like his task force, which we don't really see the rest of the team. There's at least 3 other people that's supposed to be on the task force. The only people we see him really interact with is Lee, which I love when he comes there because he sees what Bill had did. And I love that he turns to Assam. He's like, did I hear you speaking English? He was like, no. He's like, I think he just kind of pointed down to the knife and just like, me, John Chinaman. Like, I was like, oh, dude. Once again, it's like, but obviously it plays into, tactically by playing like ignorant, your enemies underestimate you. Like, it gives you an advantage over them because the only people and there who know that he can speak English, because Larry doesn't know it. those guys on the ground were probably all unconscious when he was speaking, so they don't even know that he can speak English. So the only person that knows, at least in that regard, is Bill. So, and he's not going to go around running his mouth about that because I think it's just going to make his situation worse. Which he thought he was clear with Leary's death, but it's like, it's that thing of, it's just kind of like, hey, it's kind of a moot point of keeping your boy Lee away from those testifying against those guys he arrested because they're dead now. Well, we're kind of back to that same point where it's like, well, it's a moot point now because the Assam got out of prison, so it's kind of like, yeah, these guys were supposed to kill him, and the only reason why I'm not leaving you here because I don't want to hear your wives complain about it. So, but Bill was like, hey, I've done what you asked. It's like, yeah, but this is the second time. Other circumstances have gotten in the way of you preventing you from. It helps you in the end, Bill, but at the same time, it always kind of ends up screwing you over because something else happens that ends up like changing the circumstances of your situation. So it's like, because Leary didn't say like, oh, we're done. He's just like, you have a bigger concern because now we're back to all the pressure being on you because he's being touted as the person who behind the double murders. There were no charges built against him, but you're the one that made a whole point about setting all that up. And now it's backfired on you now that he's free and everything. So it's like, right, we got to keep tabs on him in particular, but also like if more murders show up, they're definitely going to be looking at Assam as the suspect or it's going to bring an interesting dynamic to their relationship because I doubt this is going to be the only time they look at, because I love when he ended up getting when his case was dismissed. It's like, all right, those people out there are going to rip you apart. Go out this way, you'll be able to kind of go out the back. And it's like, there are going to be 3 or more guys waiting for me. He's like, no, because it would need to be more than 3 guys, wouldn't it? He's like, thanks. Don't thank me. Just go stay on your on your side of things when it comes to like the division of like San Francisco of like you stay in Chinatown and I'll stay on my side. We just avoid each other like the plague. We just stay out of each other's orbit. So yeah, but because of that, like there is no getting they're ever tied down together because of those double murders, which once again he didn't commit. Toy did. I completely forgot to talk about it last episode, but when she was talking to Chow, she had brought up the fact is that Assam has potential, and Chow was just like, oh, as a hatchet man, and she never gave it a response, but I was like, my thought was, no, she wants him on her side, because she's doing like this whole like being a protector of Chinatown, and it seems like she wants him mixed up in that, because later on, he is talking to her later in the episode, and she's like, I see potential in you. I want you to kind of join this revolution. He's like, a revolution is going to start in a brothel. She's like, that's where most revolutions end up starting. So, but it seems like it is what I thought. She kind of wants him to be a guardian of Chinatown, to be its protector, because he is a skilled fighter, but he's also not like completely out for bloodlust. So it's like, right, he is kind of stupid and kind of goes his own way, which backfires on him in many regards. Not only did he get arrested, that could have severely gone sideways. And I didn't talk about it, but obviously the only reason why he got out is because of his sister, because she found out from Leung that that he's in prison. So she ended up threatening the guys that were going to testify against him. You don't show up at court, because if you do, I'm going to come back for your family, and that's going to be a problem. So they don't show up, and because of that, the charges against Assam was dropped. It's also interesting, the connections, because we find out his lawyer, I can only assume is a public defender, is Philip, who is, I guess, Penelope's ex. I guess because of obligations and because of her dad, she ended up marrying the man. I wonder, does he not know that it was kind of an arranged marriage thing? Because it's like, oh, like, he seems like he's already, it seems like his low point is because of the Penelope stuff, but it might have already been an issue beforehand, but he's walking away brokenhearted because Penelope tried to get him to help Assam, but it's like, yeah, he's an innocent man. But even Philip's like, yeah, but he shouldn't be in prison, is what she said. And then he's like, as she left, he shouldn't even be in this country. So, it's his perspective on things. So even the people that are kind of on your side aren't fully on your side because it's like, right, I'm gonna do my job as a lawyer representing whoever, but I don't like you. I don't think you should be in this country. So it's like, cool. Even my lawyer is racist against me, you know, and xenophobic. So that's awesome. Like, there's no, like, you're never going to have fully anyone on your side. Once again, even the Lee of it all, because Lee's family has its connection to slavery. So it's like, that's what, as Bill brought up last episode. So it is that complicated thing. Penny, I'm sure, like, regardless of it all, like, she's very open-minded, but I'm sure there's even some prejudice that she has that maybe she doesn't even quite realize. She's the most, like, good-natured person we've met so far. Like I said, I think Lee is as well. They seem to be our two, whereas, like, you have someone like Bill who has some good there, but he is so conflicted. I do love that the person who ends up picking him up ends up being Assam when he leaves the court. And Chow doesn't know what it is, but he knows, like, there's some connection between Mai Ling and him. And it's like, oh, why is Mai Ling helping you? He's like, who's that? He's like, that might be the one smart thing you've said to me the entire time. It's like, once again, it's like there's information that is on a need-to-know basis, especially with you being part of the Hopway, finding out, like, hey, your sister is part of the Long Zai. So it's like, that's... I keep bouncing back and forth. Is it Long Zai or Long Z? I think it's Long Z. I keep flopping on that so much. But, like, yeah, finding out your sister is not only, like, she's married to the head of the Long Z, she's practically running things over there, which even Chow knows that. So, last thing you want is to give that information, but he knows there's something going on between Mai Ling and Assam. He'll probably be the one to end up figuring it out. He's like, yeah, you know, I'm fine with not knowing for now, but he's like, I'm me. I deal in information and stuff like that, so I'm definitely going to figure it out and probably use it to my advantage later on. But it's like, yeah, it won't do either one of them any good for that information out there because they'll be kind of used against each other, and it is kind of sad. It's not directly a Romeo and Juliet thing. I mean, it is if you took away the aspect of them being lovers and just made them siblings, then you kind of get that there. We're on warring sides, both wanting different things. Him wanting his sister back, but at the same time, it's like he's not actively, like, pursuing that because it's like, yeah, she made it clear she wants nothing to do with him and wants him to leave. Even saying, like, hey, you should leave San Francisco. But he's like, yeah, a certain drunk told me that's impossible. He's like, yes, you are severely and utterly fucked because your sister wants you to leave and she's threatened you something's going to happen if you don't leave. But it's like, she should know better than anyone that him being part of the Hopway, that he's not going to be able to leave like he even wants to because he's obligated to him. Hell, there was the celebration when he rode up and your boy Young Jun was super happy about it because it's like, yo, my boy's back. He really, really, really likes Assam because I think he sees a lot of, like, yo, we're kind of the same. You're a sick fighter, but also you're my boy. Like, I really like you. I like your style. He made that pretty clear from the beginning. So that's why he wanted to do something because the whole Hopway is supposed to all be about loyalty. And it's not just about, hey, having loyalty to those higher above you. It's like, we're all brothers in this together. And so for Young Jun, it's like, yo, you're asking me to give up on one of my brothers. Like, you know, especially when you want to point out the fact he sees my responsibility. I want something done, but you won't let me do anything. You won't do anything, which Father June shows up and makes an example of Assam because it's like, right, you were stupid. Regardless of your reasoning, you shouldn't have done what you did. I got to put you in your place and have one of almost like those wood tonfas, and like not even a wood, because it's literally just like, I mean, it's kind of symbolized like a tonfa, but it's like just a piece of wood with a pole for you to grab one and proceeds to beat the crap out of him. But it's like, hey, you took your licking. It's kind of like, we kind of had to jump you in. And this is supposed to be a reminder of not the fall in line. This is all about respect and loyalty. But hey, celebrated Assam. So it's like, woo! And it's just like, got pretty worked over. I mean, obviously he caught the first blow, but it's like, nah, put your hands down. Put your hands down, and he had to kind of take it. Because it's like, would have been more of an issue if you fought back. He's like, you gotta give it because they have taken you in. You aren't just a person. You belong. It's an interesting, Kyle about to say, like, you are their property. It's like, it's interesting, because I guess you would be seen as property to the Hopway, because he was talking to Atoy about, like, what it's like being in prison and how, on that side of things, on that side of the pond, where it's like, yeah, the ducks, they look at us like cattle, and they always will. But that's where Atoy comes into being like, right, they won't stop until we force their hand. So she's going at things like a very, like, if you had to compare, like, she's definitely like going down a Malcolm X route of like, we'll use violence when necessary because that's the only way we're going to show them. Like, this ain't like a Martin Luther King approach. It's like, no, we'll use violence if necessary, which isn't to say Assam is going down the Martin Luther route. You could make the argument because he doesn't kill that it puts him down that route, whereas Assam isn't afraid to kill the people. Like, I mean, Assam doesn't want to kill people. Atoy is not afraid to, is what I meant to say. So. Then there's everything with the mayor. He doesn't condemn the Chinese during his speech, which Buckley didn't appreciate because it's like, right, he's very much like Chow, where he's like playing all angles to it because it's like, I'm trying to get everyone's vote. The Chinese work for Merriweather, and they are his labor. So if I condemn the Chinese, I'm screwing over him and a lot of businessmen who rely on the Chinese to be their labor. So it's like, that's a no. But it's like, yeah, by not condemning the Chinese, you're losing the Irish vote, the Irish who are losing their job to the Chinese. But it's like, he's going to be pushing down on crime harder on the Chinese, but he doesn't fully condemn them because, like I said, he's trying to get all the votes, which, once again, not fully sure what Buckley wants. Like, he makes it seem like he's on the more Irish side of things, but I like, especially with like the Leary stuff, they haven't really like, they're not connected, are they? I don't think so. I don't think they've, in these past 3 episodes, I don't think they've really linked up. But I think Leary's going to be a means to an end that Buckley uses. I don't know whether it's just because he's able to keep the mayor in his position and try and keep him reelected. I don't know whether Buckley's going to try and aim for that position. Like, he seems like he's content with being where he is, the right-hand man, kind of orchestrating and puppeteering stuff from the shadows. Like, I'm going to do the nasty and ugly stuff I have to, that the mayor is completely unaware of, because either I'm going to make a grab for power and kind of like I said, I think he's probably an even better parallel to Chow. I keep saying Chow just because of like a character named Cowley and something, but it's like it's spelled differently. I think it's Chao is Chow in this, and obviously that character, I always bounce. I'm just screwing up the name. I won't get into the nitty gritty of it all, but Chow, he I think. I feel like him and Buckley are a lot alike in that regard of just like they want to take advantage of all angles because they want to benefit themselves. I don't think Buckley's one that's all about the cause, about the Irish. It's about, because that's a lot of people you're going to missing out on versus like the Chinese, who are people who don't have a vote, who don't have any worth other than being labor in this country. But even then, it's like the ones who matter are the Irish, who are the laborers, but who are also like the backbone, and more so in this country, at least I think in Buckley's eyes. But I don't think it's something as ultra, like, at least Leary, you don't have to agree with his approach to it, but you understand why he's all about the fight that he is. Whereas Buckley, it's like, you got to only be aiming for yourself. Once again, I can only assume that's why Mai Ling is, Mai Ling is doing what she's doing, because she's trying to put herself in a powerful position. Because I love that she was talking to the guy from the casino, and he's like, don't I need approval from Long Z for that? She's like, you already got it by talking to me. It's like, oh, interesting. Kind of making it clear, like, yeah, I speak for him. Whatever decisions I make, he backs. So I have his blessing to kind of run things in his stead. It's like, once again, we don't know how much, well, at least we know the Buckley stuff she's doing behind his back. We have no idea how much he actually knows about what she's up to and how much he's just letting slide and how much he is completely in the dark about, so. Which, since I brought him up before, let's talk about Leary's circumstances. Went and basically burned down those two, I think it's a father and son. They were supposed to testify and they didn't. Because for Leary, it's, hey, if you aren't going to be, we're supposed to be Irish. We're supposed to be looking out for each other. And when I ask you to do something, I need you to do something, which is for the greater cause, you do it, and you don't, you're nothing to me. Because you better not step foot in San Francisco again, because it's going to be a problem. Because, yeah, I'm burning down your house without you in it. Next time it's going to be you and your entire family. Because at the end of the day, if you're not with me, you're against me. If you're not an ally for the cause, you're an enemy. So... And then finally, we also had Penelope and Assam meeting, because he followed Jacob back to her house. And she was, I mean, which I love that she ended up drug. I was like, there's no way she's going to kill her husband. But it's like, I guess she's kind of forced to have sex with him sometimes. So just to avoid it now and as much as possible, she probably just drugs him and knocked him out. But Assad came to visit her and returned the money she gave to kind of, it was her way of thanking him for what he did and obviously apologizing for the circumstances he was in. But definitely sets up a little flirtatious moment they have, especially with how close they were to each other. It's like, well, for one, she's a married woman and also, hooking up with a Chinese man, especially someone of her status, that's going to be all kinds of complicated. I'm like, there you go, Assam. You're like neck deep in some bullshit again. It's like, you cannot help yourself but step in the fire because this is a big no-no. That's going to severely blow up in your face because that's going to completely fuck you and Penelope over. Like if you both get caught, whether that's going to turn into like a relationship thing, it feels like that might be the setup there, which I'm sure Chow will approve of. We know how he feels about, like, let's face it, how he feels about the white women situation of it all. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how those stories interact. If it feels like it's going to turn into that. Once again, maybe that's going to be the Romeo and Juliet story of this series, but probably not. But it feels like there's something budding there, especially because she's in a situation where she's married to someone she doesn't love, that she sees him for what he is, the opportunist of like, he's like, oh, we should forgive each other and let's kind of get to some love making. And he's kissing all over and she can't stand him. Like, that's why she definitely had to drug him because she was tired of the sex, like having to like, as her quote unquote wifely duty, she probably has to sleep with him every once in a while and can't really deny his advances. So, which I'm sure there's actually, especially if it really gets into nitty gritty of it, I could see Assam finding out about her circumstances and paralleling it with Mai Ling's, because I think that's why his motive, why he played. He explained like the reason why he stepped in when he did is like, you called me a coward and I just wanted to show you that I wasn't one. But she's like, I don't think you're a coward anymore. And he's like, well, I don't care what you think. Because it's like, right, it ended up being more trouble than it was worth. But I think on some level it had to deal with because he felt like a coward, especially after hearing from Mai Ling of like, right, my Sun Young like abused me. He beat me and he raped me like on a regular basis, and you didn't do anything. I think on some level that played a part in it, where it's just like seeing men laying there touching a woman. It's like it just made him, it probably brought it a little too close to home, and it probably made him think like, right, the stuff he said, and that Penny said probably resonated with like the way his sister views him, and her being in trouble made him think of like, right, I couldn't do anything for my sister. Like no man should lay his hands on a woman like that, So I think he didn't really go into it, but I feel like Mai Ling had that, Zhao Jing had to have some part to play in why he did what he did. But, that's just my thought. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good